Yeah, just 1 sec, but good.
And we are live. So, welcome to episode 3, book 3 of Mike Flanagan's Midnight Mass. And the name of the book is called Proverbs. And we find out a little bit about what Proverbs means, just like in the second episode. I believe the book was called, the name of the episode was called Psalms, and that Psalms are songs. Singing these praises, these religious praises, these Catholic praises. Here, Psalms, Proverbs are containers of wisdom and knowledge. So we're finding out more about the backstory here.
Yeah,
and
no kidding.
Here to share the experience with me, I've got none other than Eric from Hey Internet Eric here. So thank you again for joining me for another episode of Midnight Mass and Libations.
Yep. Absolutely, my friend.
So let's, without getting into too much detail, let me know what you thought of, and we literally both just finished the episode. What did you think of episode 3 of Midnight Mass, without giving away the show?
I was, let's just say, by the end of this, I was completely blown away.
Yeah.
Completely unexpected with what was revealed. And some twists and turns with some characters, ending notwithstanding, that I did not expect at all.
Okay. Yes, that's absolutely true. That sounds about right. It sounds like you watched the right episode. I suppose, oh shit, we were supposed to watch episode 3. I watched 4.
No.
This guy, no! Holy shit, no, that'd be awful. So, I mean, here we are. We end episode 2, Psalms, with the miraculous recovery of the girl Lisa, who has been wheelchair bound from an accidental shooting by the town drunk, Joe. Joe is kind of a likable character, but he's made an awful mistake.
Yes.
And somehow has avoided any kind of, legal consequences. He's an interesting contrast to Riley, who also committed a terrible, mistake, and ended up costing someone their life and kind of lost everything.
Right.
Now back in this little town rebuilding. But we have Joe, who kind of didn't seem to face too many legal repercussions from accidentally shooting a girl in the spine because he was just firing off rounds when he was drunk. But he's sort of taken it out on himself.
Yeah, he may not have suffered financially, or legally, I guess you would say, but he's definitely suffering in his own way because he's got nothing. He's in his own misery.
He's just wallowing in his own guilt and misery and, anger at himself. He's the town drunk. He's just getting drunk every night. And, he ends up in the town clink, with the sheriff who just arrests him and, just lets him sleep it off because he's not really violent.
That's why I call him Otis, from Andy Griffith. That's just what they do.
Yeah. They just let you sleep it off. And, you're not really breaking any crimes other than, giving yourself cirrhosis of the liver, which, really isn't illegal. But, it's kind of a sad case anyway. So the episode ends last week with Lisa rising up out of the chair and walking up the stairs towards Father Paul. And you're just like, holy shit, I didn't see that coming. And that's, it rolls the credits. And you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
Okay. This time, we start back in the church with Father Paul, and he is kind of holding confession. But he's holding confession for himself.
Yes.
It's an interesting shot, where he's just kind of, the priest sort of assumes the role of God in the confessional. So you're, sort of relating your sins to God. In this case, there's nobody there to hear him, especially this story. So he's just kind of going into this background about Monsignor Pruitt, who we found out in the first episode. Father Paul shows up and says that Monsignor Pruitt has basically gone away for a while. He was injured on this trip to the Holy Land. He goes to Jerusalem, so on and so forth. And, he'll be back with them soon.
Right.
Here we find out that Monsignor Pruitt was much more unwell than people had initially realized, even the people in his parish that decided to send him to the Middle East on his own.
Correct. Yeah. He was a lot more, unfit mentally to be there.
He was in the full throes of dementia.
Correct. Yeah.
And I don't have too much experience with that type of illness, that sort of thing. I have been to Jerusalem.
Okay.
It's not, I've been to Israel several times. It's not a place you would want to place someone with dementia.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a beehive. It's just a beehive of activity. And, outside the wall and the Lions Gate, at the markets, it's just thousands upon thousands of people. It's this mass of humanity. I mean, it's very beautiful and it's very clean, but you got to have your wits about it.
Yeah, I've only seen it, in movies and TV shows and such. So that's honestly my only knowledge of. But it always seemed like a place that would be so easy to get lost in if you didn't know where you were going.
Yeah. The first time I went, I was staying in Tel Aviv, and there's Monsignor Pruitt looking extremely confused, which he is. The first time I went, I was staying in Tel Aviv, and I found out I could get a bus from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem in 30 minutes. Like, it's a 30-minute bus ride. I'm like, oh, okay. And it's like a couple of bucks. I'm like, okay, let's go to Jerusalem. And, I didn't plan anything. I was just going to, hoof it, backpacking in, cargo shorts, T-shirt. It's July in Israel, in the Middle East. I'm kind of dressed appropriately. But I got in those markets, and the markets are extremely clean, unlike a lot of the other markets I've been to in that part of the world. They've actually tarped them over and air conditioned them.
Oh, wow.
Extremely beautiful, extremely orderly. But yeah, very easy to get lost. I wanted to see the Stations of the Cross and had no idea how to get there. And this Palestinian guy, he must have saw me coming like, half a mile down the road. He's like, "You're kind of lost, aren't you?" I'm like, "Well, I don't know what I'm looking for. I'm not exactly lost, but right. I don't know where to find what I'm looking for." And he gave me a price, and he's like, "For this, I'll take you around." And I'm like, "Yeah, all right, no problem." And he was a really cool dude. And he showed me the places that, we had time left to see, because I didn't realize how big it was. So I think out of the 14 stations, I saw 6 or 7.
Okay.
And then, it starts to shut down for the night. And he's like, "Yeah, we gotta be out of here, because once the sun starts to drop down, for security reasons, they want to clear everything out. They want to clear everybody out." But yeah, you would not want to drop an old man with dementia in the middle of that. And when I saw that, I was like, "Oh shit!" That's really, really bad. But where were you right now? Where were you when we were, at this point? What were your thoughts? Any thinking? It's a little odd, because Father Paul has come across as this very straightforward, kind. And now we're finding out there are things he's not telling the town.
That's the thing, because remember, episode 1, I said there's definitely something off about him. He's definitely not what he seems, and I thought it was going to be something negative. It switched for me with episode 2, and then now episode 3 starts. He's giving confession to himself. He's preparing himself for admitting a lie. And he's admitting a lie that he's told everybody about Monsignor Pruitt.
Or it's the lie. Like, you're sort of jumping back in time, like, as he's preparing, he's asking for forgiveness in advance for the lie that he's going to tell.
Right. True.
That he's going to tell everybody. So they're moving you backwards a little bit, but not enough to matter. But you can see that he's sort of preparing himself to lie. for the greater good, he says,
Right.
And for the miracles that are to come.
And what I loved about this is it's just the shot of him looking through I guess you'd say the window, you know what I mean? And the light shining on him and stuff like that. It looks good. But what I also love is when he's telling this story, and this goes throughout the episode, when he's telling the story, we have like little wooden carvings of.
I love those wood carvings.
Especially towards the end. But we had these little
numbered.
Wooden carvings of what's happening in the story he's telling. And they fit perfectly with, the moment in time that he's telling what's happening. Yeah. And they're just so beautiful and nice to look at, and just so intricate and well taken. I don't know if they were real. I don't know if they were CGI'd for the show, but I loved that little addition to the storytelling. It was like reading a book.
I don't think that there's, we talked about this yesterday with Pinocchio, in that there's this 30-minute doc, giving all these details. Mm-hmm. I don't think that there are any extras that come with Midnight Mass. I'm going to look. I don't think that there are, though.
Unless there's like YouTube stuff, maybe.
Yeah, but I would think that Flanagan would just say, hey, give me some wood carvings. Mm-hmm. Let's go out and get you can do like bezels and 3D printers nowadays and everything like that. It's not terribly, but they are beautiful, and this completely awesome touch to the story that he's relating.
It's a great idea for a visual. Great idea for visual.
Yeah, it's great exposition. Mm-hmm. It's fantastic exposition. This is just fantastic stuff. We go back to young Lisa, who is rising up out of the chair, and everybody in the town is just completely freaked out, by this, thing that they're clearly calling a miracle. But then, it's very happy. There's nothing, overtly or even, indirectly sinister about it. It seems like a miracle. Mm-hmm. And so, they go to get her checked out by the doctor, Annabeth Gish. And well, there is one thing that starts to happen. We see that Beverly Keene immediately inserts herself as the gatekeeper between the public and Father Paul. Right. Because Father Paul, seemingly after having, channeled or performed this miracle, is very weak. Yeah. He wants to go back to the house and, get away from people and kind of, reset himself and recover. And, Beverly's just not going to leave him alone. Right. He's too weak. He's kind of absentmindedly just leaving the door open. And, if it had been anyone but Beverly, I would have been okay with it. Because I think there is a part of her that's concerned for the father's health. Yeah. But in equal parts, if not more, there's just Beverly wanting to be Beverly. Right. She wants to be in charge of the situation. She wants to, keep this kind of special position for herself. Go ahead. Well, it's that was the thing. Like, she does seem concerned about his health because, he's coughing up blood in the sink and stuff like that. Yeah. And she does seem how this is a miracle. And that's what I love. But then eventually we get to scenes later and she's back to old Bev and her tricks. Yeah. Yeah. And she's got a special kind of technique with these sorts of things where she just sort of never stops talking. Right. Like, until eventually you just give up. Mm-hmm. You're just like, I can't make any headway with this person. No matter what I say, she's just going to keep talking. She doesn't really acknowledge what I'm saying. It's just all about whatever her point that she's trying to get across. Exactly. And so, most people just throw up their hands. Mm-hmm. If you do want to engage, like the sheriff tries, and we'll get to that in a little bit, eventually he's just like, yeah, then, it's just so. And I really am happy to see Annabeth Gish from the X-Files playing the doctor. I think Susan is her name. Mm-hmm. Or it's something. I can't remember exactly what her name. Peggy. It's Peggy, I think. And, they're examining Lisa, and the parents couldn't be more happy. But, there are also some interesting parts that, come to light when the doctor suggests that they go to the mainland to get her, get an MRI.
Yeah, they want to run. She wants to run a few more tests just to be on
Yeah,
the
like
safe side.
really, sort of check out what has happened here. And what did you see that? What were the parents? What were their reservations? What came to light?
To me, if I remember correctly, is they were. It seemed like it was financial. They didn't want. I don't think. I think they're in. They mentioned how everybody's in the hole. There's something wrong. The town. And to me, I just think they didn't want any more doctor bills. You know what I mean? I think that's what was the main concern. I think they also just didn't want her daughter to be poked and prodded anymore. She's lived however long she's been in the chair, and they just want her to be a kid again. So I think it was a little bit of both. I think it was mainly the financial stuff, though, because you can tell, because that stuff ain't cheap. And
No.
this is probably the type of family that doesn't have insurance or has really shitty insurance.
Yeah.
And this is sucked up so much of their funds already. And they want to just take it as a miracle from God and then go on.
Yeah, and not ask too many questions, just whistle past the graveyard. They mention, I think the mother mentions that they now rent a house that they used to own. They're no longer the homeowners of their old home. Now they rent it and someone else. So they've lost their home, attempting to, treat their daughter's condition to get some improvement with no success. And they talk about all these radical treatments and doctors that made these promises or, made the probability seem, favorable. And, it came up, snake eyes.
Yep.
And also their hesitancy because, we've talked before about how this town is just kind of dying. And the people that are there that have remained now in the dozens, are just these people who are like praying for a miracle.
And I think, what another thing is, what if like what the doctor says, sometimes these things heal themselves. I don't know if maybe they don't want to look at the fact that this might also be temporary. They get a doctor's diagnosis that, this isn't going to stick type of thing.
Yeah, they've definitely got fears. They've definitely got anxieties, about, how this could, this, and they don't want to think about that. I think they're so desperate for some kindness and, for, some good news, and they mentioned that they don't want to interrogate a miracle.
Right. We've all been there. We've all felt like, we just need a fucking break.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's what it is. Because, again, you hate to, me especially as a father, you hate to see something like this happen to your kid.
Oh,
and
God.
Then something miraculous happens.
Yeah.
And it washes all away. You don't want to look that gift horse in the mouth, lack of a better term. So, I mean, I get it 100% with them.
Yeah, I'm not a parent, but I mean, obviously, you have loved ones and, they have health issues, and, there's all sorts of illnesses out there and, accidents. And it's just terrible.
Yeah.
Anyone who's ever been to a hospital,
yeah.
What they never tell you about hospitals is how awful the energy is in a hospital.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, everybody's just sick and they're either sad or they're angry.
The waiting room alone.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, it's an awful, hospitals are awful places. Yep. And you can see why people wouldn't want to go. Just, we're okay. We're just, we're going to stick with where we're at right now. So that comes back and we get to see Riley again. And the father is back on his feet. The doctor is telling him, you're dehydrated. Lots of fluids, cut out the salty foods. I would have walked out right when she said that, because you're not separating me from my salt, all right?
I need my chips, damn it.
Yeah, I don't want to drop dead in perfect health, Doc, okay? Yep. That's not going to work for me, all right? So you're going to have to come up with something else. An IV bag I can walk around with, chips in one hand, IV roller in the other. We're going to be all right. We're going to be all right. So, we go back and Riley has begun this recovery process in AA, or at least in these sort of informal AA meetings that he's holding with Father Paul.
Right.
And I thought this was really a great scene because Riley is still, this jaded person who's just come out of prison. He's very angry, maybe at the world, but most especially at himself.
Right.
And he has no interest in being at church,
Mm-hmm.
Or necessarily sitting one-on-one across the room from Father Paul. And so, he just wants to talk about what happened with Lisa.
Yeah, he questions her. That's the first thing right away. He's like, "You knew it, didn't you?"
Well, I loved the way that Father Paul played it.
Yeah.
He just played it low key. And
Yeah.
that's kind of who Father Paul has been all along. It's just a very low key vibe with him.
He is. He's very calm. He's very cool.
Yeah.
I think the perfect word would be like smooth. You know what I mean? And he's got this. Like I said, he's got this actor. I don't know who he is. He's just got this body language. He's looking at Riley, but he's sitting in the chair. He's kind of slouched. You know what I mean? He's kind of slouched, holding his coffee cup, and he's just looking at Riley. He's taking in everything Riley's saying. He's just like, you're just so full of shit.
That is a parish priest to the core.
Is it? Okay.
That is a parish. They just sit. A lot of people get uncomfortable. If you got to talk to the father, unless you just very forward and open about things. But yeah, I mean, they just because I think they hear confessions and people coming to them all the time for this and that and this and that, and at least on the surface, a parish priest and someone here at confessions has to be somebody who's really grounded, because that could overwhelm a person, very easily. So yeah, they just kind of have that. Really, you're going to try to bullshit me.
Like he in church, he's prim, proper, stoic, and then here, like I said, he doesn't even keep his legs aren't crossed. He's just sitting there with like what you do on the couch when you're fucking watching football or something like that. He's just like, okay, what else you got to say? He like I said, he's listening, but he's just like, you're so full of crap, and I want to call you on it, which he eventually does, and I love that.
Yeah, he's Riley's trying to interrogate him, and he's just not moved at all by any of it.
Yeah,
he's just like, and finally, he says what I guess he's been thinking all along. Look, there's no answer I could give you that's going to satisfy you.
Right.
And I love the way he does it. There's nothing I'm going to say that that's going to satisfy you. You want concrete answers.
Yeah.
He goes, I could tell you that, I felt it coming up the aisle. Yep. I could tell you that I felt it, in my mind, when I walked right past her, that, instinctively I knew, that this was the right time, to try something like that. But that's not good enough for you.
Yeah. And it's very,
he puts it right back in his lap.
And what I love is he's very adamant at saying, for you. Like I could tell the people, anybody else that were in the pews, they would believe me like that. But you especially, you're not going to care what I have to say. It doesn't matter if
Nope.
I was thinking he's like one of these guys. Like he would have said, it wouldn't matter if God himself appeared right in front of me. You still wouldn't believe it.
Nope. You're going to find a way to pick a hole in it.
Yep.
And for people like that, there's nothing you can do for anybody like that.
Yep.
They're just gonna, and we all know people like that. And to some extent, we all carry that quality, I guess, pertaining to certain things, ourselves. It's just like, okay, whatever. You want to talk about Santa Claus, whatever you want to do, that sort of thing. But I mean, it's just a great exchange.
Yeah. Again,
back and forth.
It's just two people talking.
There's a lot of that in this.
Yes.
There's a lot of one-on-one conversation going on through these episodes because the town is so small, that, there's only a couple of people in it. So when conversations do occur, they just tend to be between two people.
Yep.
And so it's very easy just to focus in on, one, the quality of the writing. But two, the quality of the performances.
Yeah.
In a cast that is largely not an A-list cast.
Honestly, biggest name, the biggest name of all people to me is Henry Thomas.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He was a child actor who disappeared for a long, long time and then would just do bit parts here and there. And then, in my opinion, I think he's basically having a rebirth of his career because of Flanagan.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, I don't know.
Annabeth Gish?
Yeah. I mean,
I went X-Files in the 90s.
Yeah. I wasn't too into the X-Files, but back then. But other than that, there's no like. And the thing is, people wouldn't realize it until you pointed it out because he's under so much makeup. That's the kid from E.T. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I'm sure he's not. You think he's about your age? Maybe a little older?
I think he's older because let's just E.T. came out in 82, and I think he was probably around 10. So he's probably like 50, 51 because I'm 41. I was born in 81. So
okay, so a little bit younger than me.
He's probably very early 50s.
Okay, well, apparently I took a wrong path somewhere because I'm not on Netflix hanging out with Flanagan and doing these sorts of things, But
he's 51.
Okay, all right. So you nailed it there on the cash on the barrel head there. So we get to see a little bit of Henry Thomas, and he's shaking off. There's something that's happening throughout the town.
I love this sequence.
And he's shaking off his sullen, sort of angry thing that he's got going that we've seen since the beginning of the series.
Yep.
But it's happening, and we realize this in part because he's in pain. Like he's in physical pain. His wife mentions it throughout the series, but this is the first time, I perhaps realized the extent to which it affected his moods. Yeah. He's too old to be out on that boat, lifting those nets and those cages and those baskets, and these sorts of things. He's hurt his back. And there's, he just gets up and he's like, oh, what just happened? Like, there's no pain, And he immediately looks over at his wife. He's like, wait a minute, this could mean, this could be all right tonight. This could,
such a sweet scene. He looks at her, and again, he's on I wouldn't say heavy prosthetics, but he looks like he's probably in his late 60s, character-wise, maybe. And
I'd say late 50s.
Okay, but he definitely looks older.
Yeah.
Here in this, and it's just a sweet scene because he looks at her, and she's just reading a book. It's like every night he's painfully in the recliner. She reads her book, and he puts on a record. And then he's got this smirk on his face, and he lovingly takes the book out of her hand, and then they just start this wonderful dance. And what I love about this scene, this whole dance sequence, because we have other characters thrown in here sporadically to this great song. It's nice to see everybody in this dumpy town happy. We've never seen it. You know what I mean? Everybody for once is happy. They're not depressed. They're having a good time. And it's all characters that have dealt with some type of tragedy.
Yeah. Everybody here is struggling with something.
Yes. And it was just, I couldn't take the smile off my face just seeing everybody having fun for once.
Yeah. We get to see that, the girl, well, not everybody exactly, but, Riley's still struggling.
True.
And we get to see that he's still kind of haunted by, that girl that he killed.
But that's just Flanagan, throwing a depressing moment in the moment of happiness. You know what I mean?
Right, but he's also starting to rekindle his relationship with oh God, I forget her name. Sarah?
I think so. I'm not good with names too. I'm gonna pop it up.
Yeah. Peggy's the doctor. Lisa. Is it Lisa? No, it's not Lisa. It's not Beverly. Oh geez. Aaron. So he's starting to rekindle this relationship with Aaron. They're having coffee. She's waiting for him on the porch.
Oh yeah.
With a cup of coffee in her hand, she hands it off right to him, and they're laughing, and people are having a good time. You get to see Lisa for the first time, is, able to, sort of have, a relationship with boys because she can walk.
Yeah, she sneaks up to his window this time.
Yeah, she's not housebound anymore. So they go out on the boat, and, they're, to get a little smooch going, maybe your first kiss.
Yep.
All these sorts of things are happening. And it's just, it is a great scene. You get to see how, the church starts off. It's filling up, a little bit at a time. Things are, spirits are lifted,
they're handing out pamphlets and flyers.
Yeah, we get to see the sheriff and the son are spending a little time together. We're going to come back to that a little bit later on because that turns into a bit of a conversation. Another good one-on-one.
Yeah, I knew something was up because they're down there, they're praying, and Ali gets up first. Sharif is still praying. You know what I mean? He's still on his knees. He's still praying, and Ali's already folding the rug. So I knew, okay, something's up. Something's going to happen with this rebirth, this revival of the churchgoers.
Yeah, that's starting to happen. And then, you get to see that evil buzzard Beverly, putting back the rat poison, that she used to kill that dog. Ugh.
I was so fucking pissed. Like I said, this is Flanagan. Like all these happy notes here. Then we see Riley. He's still seeing that vision of, the girl he killed. Happy. And then the old buzzard, as you like to call her, she puts that poison right on the shelf. And then, of course, Flanagan perfectly makes it so we can see that it's poison. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The words right there on the screen.
Yeah.
Just to remind you.
They're you can see here, the church is, completely filled up. It's a good thing that's happening. The town is sort of coming back to life.
Yep.
You see all the pews are filled.
Yep.
And people are finding faith again. Which on its face is, a really good thing.
Yep.
But we're not done with the episode.
Right. We still have a lot
we're not done yet. We're not there yet. This isn't episode 7 and they all lived happily ever after. This is episode 3, and we're finding out a little bit more. I guess if there is one negative thing that I could say about that sequence is that I can't stand Neil Diamond. If back pain could make a sound, it would sound a lot like Neil Diamond.
If back pain can make a sound, you'd be Henry Thomas before he put on the record.
Yeah, exactly. Oh no, not tonight. Sitting back to Jesus. Must get back to my book.
Yep.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because that leads to where we just saw where the church is full, and Father Paul starts to talk about the abstraction of Christian concepts. Rising from the dead. The body and the blood of Christ. A lot of people, I love the way he phrased it in that people think that, eternity is this abstract, concept. I sat in traffic for an eternity. I've been waiting here forever. But he's like, that's not what these things mean. The concept of everlasting life, and miracles, these are not abstract concepts.
Right. He's he's a good public speaker, and priests and fathers, they have to be to get people to come back over and over again, help with their faith, but he knows how to talk. And I've said it before, I'm not a religious person at all, but he makes me want to listen to like his stories. I'm not bullshitting you. He does.
You go to church on Sunday, this guy isn't Father Paul's bullshit.
I know. I'm done. But the way he tells the stories, and stuff like that, for lack of a better term, it's drawing me in.
It's a great casting.
Yeah. It's
a great casting for Father Paul. He's a fantastic character. He performs it well. It's well written. Everything here is well written. Everything here that I've seen so far, and this is the second time that I've seen it, but it's been 2 years since the first time. Everything that I've seen so far in this second viewing holds up and is very well performed. And that's, this is the kind of stuff that I want to cover. This is the kind of stuff that I want to talk about. So I'm in hog heaven, just watching this kind of stuff. So he brings up an interesting point also in that, as adults, we become inflexible. And Lord knows I'm famous for that. But, the more that we know, the less that we're willing to bend.
Right.
The less that we're willing to go with the flow of things. We've become stiff. We've become brittle. And that's true to some extent physically. As people get older, they, become kind of physically brittle or stiff. But, also mentally, you get fixed in your train of thought. This is here and no further, this kind of thing. And then spiritually, which is where, the town has kind of been. It's just been in this, sunken kind of lethargy.
Yeah, it's just been in a rut.
Yeah, it's a great homily that he gives. Where do we go from there? Oh, okay. So, from there, we start to go back to confession. And I love that this keeps shifting back and forth. Yes. Everything, no matter where you are in the story, it goes back to him in that confessional. This little narrow, kind of thing where he's talking to God.
And it's a great job of building up the anticipation of where this is going to go. And I'm just talking about not just the show in general, but this confession that he's prepping. You know what I mean? Because if it was just like the beginning of the episode and then they just kind of brushed it off, honestly, I probably would have forgotten about it. You know what I mean? But Flanagan keeps putting these confession scenes in sporadically to keep you going, that he's got something to tell.
Yeah. There's something to this. This isn't some...
And it's something very, very, very big. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's important.
Yeah.
It's important. Did you have, and without giving away the ending, I mean, and maybe the people in the chat have seen it, did you have any idea where this was going?
No.
You didn't see any of it. Neither did I the first time.
I did not.
Neither did I the first time.
When we get to the reveal, I will explain how certain parts could have been obvious with a rewatch if it was more frequent. Not like, because you said it's been a couple years for you. Right. But I will say this. Yeah, it is obvious if the second time you watch it, you know what to look for. But I did not know where his story was going in the least.
Yeah. Same here. And watching it on the second viewing, like I said before, it really holds up. We come back to Monsignor Pruitt, who has wandered out of the old city somehow and has made it into the desert. And you're just like, holy shit. Like, if you have any idea how fucked up that is, it's just, you're like, this guy is dead. Like, he's as dead as Julius Caesar. Like, you're not making it out of there. No one knows that he's missing.
It's just like, it's like, put yourself, like, if you're from a small town, and then let's just say you get lost in Los Angeles, you know what I mean? This is a poor old man with dementia lost in the fucking desert.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's scary.
He's dead. But then, they keep bringing it back to, religious comparisons, allegories, or so forth, with Saul on the road to Damascus. He sees this light. But instead of a light necessarily, Monsignor Pruitt sees a darkness.
Yeah.
Like this entryway into perhaps a cave that the storm has sort of blown open. Maybe something that's been sealed for an extremely long period of time. And he makes his way in.
Yep.
And when I first saw this, I had no idea where this was going to go.
No, me neither.
I was like, what the hell is this? He's just...
I figured, I'm not going to say until we get to the end. I figured, honestly, he got lost in there, he died, and then his body was found later. I figured that could have been where the story was going to go.
Something along those lines. Yeah, that would not have surprised me at all. And then we come to kind of a difficult scene where we get, it kind of skips around. And we come back to something that I didn't see coming the first time that I saw it either. And I forgot that it was in this episode. And I'm talking about the conversation between Lisa and Paul and Joe.
Ooh, that was rough. That was intense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Gorilla Monsoon, me and you, we're wrestling guys from that era. Gorilla Monsoon used to say you can cut the tension with a knife. It's so fucking thick.
Yeah.
And again, we keep going back to this. We say it in every one of these recap episodes you and I have done. We keep saying it's these conversations with two people that are so fucking powerful.
Yeah.
And Joe doesn't say much, if not anything at all. It's all the actress who plays Liza. And holy shit, she's not just there to look cute. She's not just there to be
No, she's
sympathetic
not.
in the wheelchair. She in this scene is fucking phenomenal. She's
Yeah.
bringing out all that emotion, that sadness, that rage, that hate, that disgust.
Yeah.
She fucking nailed it, dude.
Yeah, and she how can you put this?
Careful,
She
you're playing
just
it.
like am I? Oh, gee, not no, not get it out of there. Ah.
Okay.
there goes the clip. It might get clipped. I don't know. If so, I'll trim it out.
It wasn't very long.
Okay. But you know, she actually sort of leads the scene.
Oh yeah, because it starts out. Joe is he's probably half in the bag. He's watching fucking wrestling or basketball or something like that. He's in his recliner, and he hears the knock on his trailer, and he's basically saying, "Go away, fuck off,"
Yeah.
And he gets up in this rage, and then it's a 180. He goes from pissed off man because he interrupted my Saturday, and it's a testament to this actor who plays Joe. It's just body language, fear, regret, remorse, disgust in himself. He doesn't do anything. And when he sees her walking, you can tell he's like, what the fuck did I just witness?
Yeah.
What's going on here?
The scene where he opens the door and she's there, it's like he's repelled by his own guilt.
Yep.
He's repelled by his own actions. He just, he's defenseless before, and he's a big dude, he's like a big burly, kind of, handyman kind of guy. And he's just completely powerless before this child, this little girl. He could probably knock over with his pinky finger.
Yeah.
And he has to let her, have her say. And what she says is quite something.
It starts off really strong because I kind of know where she's going to go. I kind of had that figured out. You know what I mean? She's gonna say her piece and then she's gonna forgive him. But what I thought really added to the intensity is she looks up at his gun rack and she just says, "Is that it?
Yeah.
Is that the one?" And she looks at him. He's like, "No, that's my grandfather's. I chucked the one that I used on you, or lack of a better term, in the lake right afterwards."
Yeah.
But it's just like, wow, she's looking at him. He's like, wow, you still have a fucking gun on the wall of your camper after everything that's happened.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think that she even knew what she was going to say. That's the impression that I got.
I think it was a decision she wanted to make right then and there. It wasn't planned.
Yeah, she wanted to confront him, but I don't think she had any idea what she was going to say.
Right.
And it starts out with, this place is exactly what I pictured it would be.
Yep.
And then it turns into, it's not just what I pictured it was, I pictured it to be, it's what I hoped it would be. That you just lived in the squalor, with beer bottles everywhere, just drinking yourself to death. This is what I wanted for you.
Yeah.
For what you did to me. These sorts of things. And he's like completely powerless before this kid, who's just kind of, ripping him to pieces.
Yep.
And it's great, and I talk all the time about more is less, or less is more, excuse me.
Yep.
And his performance here.
Yeah,
he's doing absolutely nothing really.
He just takes it.
Yeah.
And he knows he's guilty.
Yeah.
He feels this, and you see that through this actor's face. The tears, just the body language. Look at him; he's slunched. He's hunched over. You know what I mean? He's not standing up straight. And what I really liked about this performance is, like you said, Lisa's saying, this is what I wished for you, for what you did to me. But then she goes into what actually was happening. Her and her father were hiking.
Yeah.
This was daddy-daughter time, basically. This is where she could tell her dad anything she wanted to. He would listen, type of thing. And then just suddenly she remembers she was on the ground. She couldn't feel anything. But I don't know the actual line, but she just brought up the sound of her father screaming.
Yeah.
I want you to feel like my dad did. I want you
Yeah.
to scream like he screamed.
Yeah.
So she's basically saying, you didn't just fuck me over.
Yeah. You've ruined our
You
family.
ruined my dad. You
Yeah.
ruined my mom.
Yeah. You ruined them financially.
Yep.
They're renting a house that they used to live in. You destroyed their faith in things.
Mhm.
You damaged it very badly.
And the thing is, I guarantee you, it probably put a strain on the marriage as well.
Oh yeah, I can't see how it wouldn't.
Yeah. So
I can't see how they're human.
finances, faith, marriage. I'm sure there are a lot of times, like without getting too much into it, I was a caregiver for a family member for a long time. And sometimes, you think things, you say things that you are absolutely not true,
Yeah.
but because of the position you were put in, it's a natural response.
Yeah.
So I guarantee there were probably plenty of times when mom and dad took out something on each other because they had to help her. Maybe dad or mom had to help her onto the toilet one time and they just didn't want to fucking do it. You know what I mean? And they said something to her. You guarantee that that's happened, without saying it. You could just put yourself in that position and just imagining that. You know what I mean? So he ruined the house.
He ruined their lives.
Mhm.
And we talked yesterday at some length about imperfect family members.
Mhm.
Imperfect fathers, imperfect sons. This idea of being a burden. And the things that people say. That kind of comes out sideways because you're just stressed, and all these sorts of things. And he put them through that, and it's a shame because he's not a villain.
No.
He's just a drunk.
He's
He's just a drunk who did a stupid. It's the same sort of empathy or sympathy even that you have with Riley.
He's a man who made a dumb decision. That's all it is. It wasn't out of malice or anything. He made a very dumb decision, and the consequences were very dire. He's not a bad person. He didn't go out looking for someone to fucking shoot. You know what I mean? I'm not excusing it, but he just got drunk and he just started firing his gun. You know what I mean? He wasn't intending to hurt somebody.
Yeah,
but
and
his decision caused this to happen.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it just, it had awful consequences. And she talks about, that she actually hates him.
Yep.
But then at the same time, and I think this is even almost worse for him in the moment, not over the long term, but in the moment, because we see him later on.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of different times. And she tells him she forgives him.
Right.
And it's such a powerful scene. Because I think it's necessary for her.
Yeah. She can't carry it anymore. She doesn't want to carry it anymore.
No, and to be honest, there'd be no purpose.
Right.
In it. Mm-hmm. And you can see, she's wearing her cross there. I don't think that's an accident.
No. The fact that she's not wearing it under her sweater.
Right. Because if it was under the sweater, there'd be no point in her wearing it.
Right.
For the purposes of the camera.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that faith, maybe she feels has been rewarded. And so, she can let go of that hatred.
Right.
For her and maybe for him.
Mm-hmm.
And, she tells him, the only thing that's holding you back is you.
Yep.
Which is probably exactly what he needed to hear.
Yeah. This is all you're going to stay here rotting in this trailer unless you decide to do something.
Yeah, because it comes back to that old idea that it's all in his head.
Mm-hmm.
The world has continued to spin.
Yep.
But you're sitting here in this trailer drinking yourself to death.
Mm-hmm.
Stop.
Yeah.
You can stop now.
Yeah. It was the wake-up call that he needed.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of people who need a wake-up call, we've got Beverly.
Ugh.
Who is I know.
One thing before we get to your favorite character,
Yeah.
I love when after she leaves the trailer, that's when Joe is able to break down.
Yeah.
He holds it all in, but once she leaves, he loses it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I just thought that was a good touch to the scene.
He's a good cat. Everybody here, everybody here is doing a really good job in their performance.
Yeah,
even people like Lisa's parents who are
Mhm.
describing, how they don't want to question this miracle.
Mhm.
They're done with the mainland and
They're
the big
all
town.
serving their purpose.
Yeah.
And whether
Everybody
you like the characters or not, like we always scoff at Beverly, you know what I mean? But like that actor who, when you were talking to Rod for Underwater, they're doing their job. You
Vincent
don't want to
Cassell.
like, you don't want to like this person.
Yeah, that means that they're actually performing at
What's the way?
what they're
what the
supposed to be
director
doing.
intended.
That's they're doing a really good job. So maybe Beverly's the best performer. Well, not necessarily, but you got Father Paul and some
Right.
others.
But I love, like, we're gonna get into the scene with her now. She started out as like this. She seemed to at least lighten up a little bit when the miracles were happening. She didn't seem like she had that stick up her butt so far. You know what I mean? Because she was like, making sure Father Paul had his water and this and that. So she actually had a smile on her fucking face. But then halfway through the episode, we get to old Beverly again.
Well, she's clearly, like I said, she's clearly inserted herself as the gatekeeper.
Yeah,
you're not getting to Father Paul except through her.
And she wants to make, and like I said, the gears were turning after we started talking. Like, she wants to keep him healthy. That's why she went when the doctor said, no more salt, keep drinking water. She went right to the kitchen table, got the glass of water, and then once the doctor was done talking, she left. She says, "You heard her, drink it."
Yeah, she's in charge of something else now.
Yeah,
she has to be in charge of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out that she has been handing out Bibles.
Mm-hmm.
Now in this, as she calls it, the whole town is going through a revival. A Christian Catholic, revival. Except that the sheriff is a Muslim.
Yeah, and he found the Bible in his son's backpack.
In Ali's backpack.
Yep.
And he's trying to state his case that he has no problem with any of Christianity,
mm-hmm.
but that's not the place of the school.
Yeah, I remember
to be inserting their religious preferences into anyone's.
Yep, I remember when I was a kid in middle school, we would have people handing out Bibles, but they weren't allowed on like school property. You know what I mean? They'd be down the street and stuff like that. So I get what he's saying, but this was like, it brought me at least back to that time. But this was totally different. How it's like someone from the school handing that stuff out.
Yeah, she's proselytizing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the term for it. Just openly, just saying, yes, this is,
this is the way.
This is the truth. Mm-hmm. This is truth. She's preaching truth. Mm-hmm. She's kind of becoming an advocate. Mm-hmm. And, the sheriff is trying to, state his case, in a classy way, mm-hmm. so on and so forth. But no one else has the nerve to speak up in front of Beverly. Right. And eventually she just ends up talking over him until he finally just throws up his hands.
And what I liked is he made a lot of sense too. He was pleading his case. He was being 100%, 100% professional, adult. He's like, and he's being respectful to her and everyone else in the room's beliefs. But she was just, you could see she was just looking down her nose at him.
Oh, yeah.
And she didn't give two shits about him being a Muslim or anything. That's not the way. And and you made a good point is like, no one wanted to speak up over him because you could tell some of the shots of the people in the classroom, they were kind of agreeing with his at least point of view. You could tell that they might not want to become Muslim or leave their Christianity or anything like that, but they were seeing his point 100%.
Oh yeah, because what he said made sense.
Yep.
What Beverly is doing is just trying to win.
Right. It's always a competition.
Yeah, it has absolutely nothing to do with right or wrong. It's that Beverly always has to win.
Mm-hmm.
if she has to poison the dog to win,
Yeah.
she's going to win. And he said, if I brought a Quran, and started handing out Qurans to all the students, you'd run me out of town. And that's absolutely the truth.
It is. It absolutely is.
But it has nothing to do with truth. It's
Right.
just Beverly needs to win again.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we go through a couple of other things. We see that Annabeth Gish's mother is starting to recover.
Mm-hmm.
She's getting some semblance of herself as another person with dementia,
Mm-hmm.
or Alzheimer's, or some sort of cognitive decline.
Yeah, and she also has some type of physical ailment with her hip because
she's just old.
Well, because she climbed up the stairs and she says, "Mom, I'm not going to be able to get you back down here because of the hip," type of thing. So there was definitely old age and joint problems as well.
Yeah, which that's kind of typical,
right?
At that age, But then we come back to what I thought was one of the cooler scenes. Riley comes to another AA meeting, and he's got some company.
Yes.
Joe is there at the AA meeting.
I was happy to see him there.
Yes, I was.
Really was.
I was as well. What did you see? Tell me.
Well, I was happy for Riley. Well, not happy for. I was happy for Joe because he's trying to get his life at least somewhat straightened out, or at least making that first step. And he still admitted, he still drank. You know what I mean? He's still going to an AA meeting, but he still drank. So he's still struggling, but he's making forth that effort. And he did a really good job of being sympathetic again, but he's not like slovenly this time. You know what I mean? He's not half drunk. He's stone cold sober. And it's more good acting. You know what I mean? I love it. And you could tell that Father Paul wanted to help him as well.
Yeah. And he actually calls Riley out a little bit because he's like, Riley, do you have anything to say? Mm-hmm. And Riley's like, well, I don't think I'm in any position to just, to judge anyone else's drinking. And Father Paul's like, that's bullshit.
And I love hearing, I'm a sucker for when a priest swears. You know what I mean? Me and you, we cuss like a sailor, like it's it's Tuesday or whatever. But seeing him, he says, this guy, he says, that's bullshit. I'm sorry, but that's bullshit. He says like bullshit like 3 times. Yeah. He's calling Riley out. He's like, come on, dude, do something. You're just sitting there basically taking up space.
And he tells him, you walked in here with your arms folded and defensive and, this, that, and the other. And, what's all this progress for if you can't use it to help other people?
Right. Find a purpose.
That's his response. Yeah, you have to serve a purpose. Mm-hmm. This sort of thing. And if you're not serving a purpose, and I'm going to tell you, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing here.
Right.
It's a great scene for Riley. It's a great scene for Joe. It's a great scene for Father Paul. Mm-hmm. And he tells him, what you're doing now is enough. Mm-hmm. Maybe down the road, and maybe even, not long from now, you're going to have to do more. Mm-hmm. But you just being here right now, is 100% everything.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's that first step that could lead to something better. You're never going to improve. Like, this is what I tell my daughter a lot of times. Because she's 10. Oh no, I came in second place. The world is over. I don't want to do that because I think the kids will make fun of me. Or they'll laugh at me. I said, you never know if you're going to improve yourself or win until you at least try. It's that old adage. You got to try. And I could not know. I couldn't ever imagine what both Riley and Joe are going through with what they've caused. But it's a big step. Like, Riley doesn't give a shit. He's there because the court ordered him to.
Right.
Joe willingly went there because he woke up when Liza let him have it, and he truly wants to probably save himself. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because now he's all alone. Now that, the old buzzard took away his best friend, the dog.
I think that if, you had asked Riley, he probably would not have realized that he had made so much progress. Mm-hmm. Because he's still so locked inside of his head.
Yeah.
He doesn't see what's actually happening, in the world around him, because when he lays down, he sees a dead person.
Yep. That's
You know,
always on his mind.
Yeah, and so he doesn't have any perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what Father Paul is for. But it also occurred to me, when this was maybe my favorite, well, not my favorite scene, but when one of my favorite scenes, maybe my second favorite scene in the whole episode,
Mm-hmm.
when Riley and Joe are walking and talking.
Yeah.
And it just occurred to me how desperately, especially Joe and Riley also, but I think more so Joe, he needed someone to talk to.
Yeah, they had a little bit of bonding moment. He needed someone to talk to bounce stuff off. And they're just basically, shit talking Bev, because it's the community center that she bought with the money and this and that. But it's cool. Like I said, it was nice seeing. Let's do a callback to, I guess you would say, the Neil Diamond scene. You know what I mean? It was nice seeing him happy. It's a brief 2-minute scene, if that, them walking down, bouncing off of each other with their words. But it was very nice to see him. He's still foul mouthed and this and that, but it was nice to see him happy. He's walking up, standing up straight now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He feels, I don't know if he's happy, I doubt it, but he's feeling a little bit more confident, I think. He realizes he was able to expunge a lot of that, take that breath of fresh air, and then possibly move forward. It was nice seeing that from his character, in my opinion.
He talks about the death of his sister.
Right.
And like he hadn't told anybody that his sister died.
Mm-hmm.
It's just been him locked inside that trailer. In the same way that, like, if any two people on the island are going to be able to relate to each other, it's those two.
Mm-hmm.
But that's only going to happen through these meetings.
Yep.
And he's just like, I couldn't go to my sister's funeral. I couldn't see myself leaving. Like, he's so racked with guilt, he can't go to the outside world and possibly experience judgment or what he perceives in his mind to be the judgment of other people over what he's done, so much so that he wouldn't go see his own sister's, burial.
Right. And the thing is, we've all had situations where it's too late and we regret something, right?
Sure.
And what I like about this scene is he's now comfortable enough to tell somebody that. And it's Riley of all people. If he didn't go to this meeting, he'd still be having that deep down inside.
Yeah.
And I think that helped him too. Because sometimes, just telling somebody something like that helps. And I was just, I'm very happy for this loser in this episode. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Both of them are so starved. And Riley has it to some extent with Ellie. What's your name?
Yeah, Ellie.
Riley has it to some extent with Ellie, but Joe has it from no one, just for some encouragement or a kind word.
Yeah.
And it's just, just that little bit of, being able to talk to someone. Hey, I can stand up straight today.
Mm-hmm. I had a good day today.
Yeah. That's one of the things they talk about in meetings, being able to look the world in the eye again.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it's been like one day or something like that,
Right.
But, putting forth, the genuine effort is what, brings the results. And it's just a great scene.
It really is.
It's a great scene.
And it also adds to the fact that they're just shit talking Beverly, and having fun.
Well,
that adds to it. But then I love how, they want to change the name of the community center, this and that. And by the end of it, he says something, that's totally over the top. And then Riley looks at him and he's like, yeah, well, you'll need a bigger sign. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Something like that.
Bev Keene's money laundering.
Yeah.
Money laundering, operation or something. Because apparently, maybe that's what she's done. She's just, from the oil spill, pocketed all the money or something like that, or got all those people to sell.
Mm-hmm.
But she's so insane that she won't leave. Like, she just sits there right in whatever she did and, continues to be like this, low level.
Well, she's still got the town under her thumb.
Yeah.
If she left to the big bad city,
she would never be able to do anything.
She'd be a number.
Yeah. And, like if she went, where the sheriff is from, New York City,
Yeah.
you put her in New York City, she's just going to be a crazy person.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay.
You
Well,
get the fuck away from me, crazy
yeah.
lady.
Yeah. There's
We got
three
enough
more
of
of
that
you
in this
down.
city.
There's 3 more of you down the street,
Yeah, about 10 feet down the street, I'm going to run into about 6 more. So, yeah. But here, among dozens.
She's the big bad wolf.
Yeah, she's the big bad wolf. So, I mean, that brings us, we're getting towards the end of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
And that brings us to the sheriff and his son, Ali.
Such a good scene.
Yeah, it is. It is a really great scene where Ali says he wants to go to mass on Sunday. And his father's like, I don't think that's going to happen. That's not a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
What did you get out of that?
First off, I was glad that they finally gave Ali something to do. And it showed that this actor can act as well. And they have a really good chemistry. You can see that they are father and son. You believe that.
Yeah.
And I like how it's just Ali trying to broaden his horizons. You know what I mean?
He's trying to rebel a little bit.
A little bit, because he does bring that up. He says, "You, Dad, you left because the precinct where you were from was too racist. You became Muslim for Mom. I didn't ask for any of this." He's basically saying, I want to do something for myself.
Yeah, he's not wrong.
Right. And you feel for the kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He pulled out of the big city, going into some podunk town where, it's dying. You know what I mean? What's he going to do? He's got like 2 friends. You know what I mean? Yeah. And he's always going to be the outcast because he's the only Muslim in the fucking town.
Right.
So
and he's not a local.
Exactly. So you feel for the kid.
Yeah.
And like you said, he's not wrong. And it's just a good, powerful performance. And what I liked about this, it wasn't the typical, standing up, getting in Dad's face type of yelling. He's calm, he's respectful, but he's still getting his point across.
Yeah, and he's got a point.
Mm-hmm.
If it was just screaming and yelling, even if you have a point, sometimes that just gets lost in the presentation.
Yeah.
And the way that you address, your issue.
Mm-hmm.
But he's just like, I want to do something. Yeah, you're right. I want to do something for me.
Yeah.
And the father also has an equal sort of response. In that he doesn't just, try to, muscle his son or, verbally muscle his son or, he's just like, it doesn't work that way.
Right.
Like I understand what happened to Lisa, that's great, but that's not God.
Right.
It's not a miracle.
Right.
And he starts to talk about the experience that he had with his wife dying of pancreatic cancer.
Correct.
And he's like, God does not just choose to heal some people while letting some people just die over here.
Right.
That's not cosmic intervention. He goes, it's not magic.
Right. It's not how it works.
Yeah, that's not how it works. Great, she's had this recovery, but it's not a miracle.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I never let you see what your mother was going through when she was sick like that. And he goes, that's what I was supposed to do. I was supposed to shield you from that. I'm your father.
Yeah, that's lack of a better term, that's the cross I will have to bear.
Yeah, and he goes, that's right. That I did the right thing by not letting you have to see that. But, I think he didn't quite come out and say it, but he's like, if your mother saw you now wanting to, your mother never lost her faith.
Right.
But if your mother saw what you were or heard what you were saying now,
she'd be disappointed.
Yeah, she'd be very disappointed. And he ends it with, kiss your mother. And if you want to talk about this some more tomorrow, we can talk about it.
And that's what I really like about Sharif. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He is, he gets his point across, but he's so respectful, and he's not just brushing his son off. He's like,
no,
this is a big deal for you. I've said my piece. Go to bed. We can still discuss it in the morning. He's not, we're done.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really, really good stuff. And then we come to we come to Bev.
Well. What about when right when Sharif turns off the light?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
I'm not okay.
Because what happens is, when you
Mm-hmm.
know what that reminds me of, and I'm doing a disservice to Midnight Mass by mentioning this.
I know exactly what. Here's the thing, because I had to rewind it because I didn't notice it the first time, and then Sharif says, "Holy shit!" I'm like, "Okay, what did I miss?" He's looking out the window. We see nothing. So I rewound it a little bit. We finally get to see what's behind, somewhat, those glowing eyes. And I repeated exactly what Sharif said when I saw it. I went, "Holy shit," to my phone. And this, we get. I'm going to assume your disservice is going to be comparing it to the Amityville Horror, because I know
Yes.
yes, I know how much you hate that
pig.
movie. The pig. This was so good because we don't see everything. We see a little bit. We can tell it's not human, but it's just one of those low key scares because honestly, with everything that happened in this episode, I forgot that there's still something going around. Killing the cats. They killed that the kid who's selling the weed last episode.
Yeah, because they haven't been addressing it very much. It's this brief thing that happens in like 15-second intervals.
It's like,
and then they just move on for the next 30 minutes in another direction, and you're like, oh fuck, I forgot,
And let's we're gonna get to it because we're close to the end of the episode. It's like Father Paul telling his story. We're just getting little bits and pieces here. You forget about it, and then when he comes back, it's more important. It's that buildup.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had to rewind that a couple times. Oh man.
So we've seen it a few times on the island with the cats.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on 1 second. Give me a text real quick.
Sure.
All right. I'm renting a nice house here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm getting it for like a fucking song. And we've installed a garage gym. I bought a power rack, and buddy mine has like 500 pounds of Olympic and
Mm-hmm.
it's pig iron and stuff. So every once in a while he's like, I'm coming over to the gym. I'm like, hey. I said, I don't care because he owns the house.
Okay.
But he's my neighbor. He's like my oldest friend. I'm renting a house from like my oldest friend. So, I said, you never have to ask me, basically it's your house. I mean, it's different than, if you just come in the house, but if you just want to go in the garage, I'm like, just let me know it's you. Yeah. So I know that, I know exactly who's, here in the yard, so to speak. So he just sent me a text. I'm going to the gym. I'm like, yeah. So we get to, we get to see a bit of that in the first episode on the island where the kids are smoking, weed, and we see the eyes, the dead cats, these sorts of things. And then, we're seeing a bit more of it now. I didn't rewind it this time because I just,
right,
I'm seeing it for the second time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we're going to see a few of those eyes again.
Yeah.
In scenes coming up, which we're getting to right now. Father Paul collapses and just starts spewing up blood.
Yes.
And got a little Christopher Lee going there.
Yeah. This was another had me yelling like, holy shit, what are we? And I looked at my phone. I'm like, we only have like fucking 12 minutes left.
Yeah. What are you possibly going to show me in the next 12 minutes that's going to explain away this shit, because he's in there and he's talking, and then all of a sudden he just drops, and it looks like he's having an epileptic seizure.
Yeah, and what got me is like he's coughing up blood. They show that before, so I thought maybe every time a miracle happens, he gets sick or something like that, or I attributed to maybe like lung cancer or something like that. But what got me was his eyes filled with blood.
Yeah.
And then I know something was really up.
It's a hell of a thing, and then all of a sudden, we're back in the cave.
Yep.
In Jerusalem, and Monsignor Pruitt has enough wherewithal, I guess, to strike some matches in this dark cave because he starts to see the same pair of eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of alarming because you're like, what the fuck is going on here?
Mm-hmm.
Great
use of the dark.
Yeah, why are we jumping back and forth? And I mean, when you really stop to think about it,
Mm-hmm.
how great this is, how much they're doing with so little.
Yep.
There's almost, I mean, what effects? What
And the thing is,
effects?
the Monsignor, he's not even saying a word.
Well, no, I mean, just over the course of 3 episodes.
Yeah. Yeah.
What have they? We just talked about Del Toro and, this unbelievable, stop motion thing that he, did over the course of I don't know how many years. And
Mm-hmm.
yet here we are the next day talking about this series that is using practically nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And you're riveted.
It shows how, like, we're not just saying how much we love Flanagan just to say we love Flanagan,
Yeah,
We're
take
showing
my
these
word
prime
for it. I
examples
mean,
of just how good he is. Because look, we've talked Dr. Sleep. We've talked Gerald's Game. We've mentioned his other TV shows or other movies just in passing. There's a reason why he always gets brought up on this channel, because he's just that good of a filmmaker. And I guess you'd say TV show director as well now with his Netflix shows.
It's a hell of a thing. And what ends up being in there in the cave with the Monsignor is an angel.
Yeah.
Well, okay, of sorts.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Maybe.
Kind of, sorta. Maybe not. Who ends up pouncing on the Monsignor and just seemingly drinking him dry.
Yeah, it was definitely vampiric for sure.
Yeah,
just sucking the blood out of him. But I loved the design of it. This looked like this angel. I guess that's what we're gonna go with that for now, at least. He reminded me of he should be out on like the top of a cathedral. You know what I mean?
Like a gargoyle.
Exactly. I love the way his wings looked.
Yeah, it's just I thought that this was just a beautiful piece of horror.
Yeah, it's so pretty,
gorgeous,
being
and there's
so scary.
I don't know if I can find it, but there's that one shot where the light almost appears like a halo around his head, and you're like, oh my God. Like, I remember the first time I saw this, I'm like, what the hell am I watching?
Mm-hmm.
Because I had seen Hill House.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I had seen Bly Manor or any of those other things, but I'm watching this and I'm like, what is this? Mm-hmm. This is magnificent.
Yep.
And it's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting back to the confessions, and you're finding out that this thing has just decided to offer up his blood,
and we're still getting those wood carvings.
We're still getting the wood carvings. I'm gonna see if I can bring a couple of them up.
Oh man!
But it also comes back to the covenant of Christianity. This is my blood.
Yeah,
this is my body. This is my blood. Offered up for the forgiveness of sins.
Mm-hmm.
Does Father Paul see this as some kind of miracle? Because he talks about pain, the pain of being drained, so you're thinking, the crucifixion and, the scourging at the pillar, and all these things that Jesus went through, the day of, and, and then, hey, at the end of it, there's a new covenant.
Right.
There's another covenant, and this is the blood of it.
Yep.
So they're all things that he sort of relates to, and it's stunning to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable.
And it's downright scary. This scene is because you're also, like I said, great use of the darkness. You got to remember they're in a cave when this is happening.
Yeah.
So it's just shot so wonderful. You don't see everything of what's happening because the Monsignor, he's only got a match. And you only got the little bit of the sunlight peeking in.
Yeah. It's a hellish kind of scene.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on a second. Oh, jeez, I just had it a second ago. Hold on. I'm going to assume that you did not see any of that coming.
Nope.
And you look at these wood carvings.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
They're just fiendish and ghoulish, and yet beautiful.
Yeah.
Just absolutely beautiful. And if I'm not mistaken, each of them is numbered down at the bottom. Although I don't want to. Well, maybe I can do it another way.
Maybe you can click it full screen.
Yeah,
maybe they'll show it.
I think it is full screen.
Is it?
Yeah, it is full screen.
Okay.
It is full screen. But
I
think each of them are numbered. Well, I was just going to say, I think each of them are numbered like the stations of the cross.
Okay.
14 stations. So there are 14 stations here. Because throughout this entire thing, I mean, there's very much a religious overtone, or Christian overtone, or Catholic overtone, the suffering and the miracles, and the abstract arguments about eternal life, and the blood of these covenants, and so on and so forth.
Right.
And he goes off in this completely, this is an original story as far as I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, where does that leave us?
Oof, that final reveal was so good that
Go ahead, take it.
Okay, well, we find out that as the Monsignor leaves the cave, he has de-aged many years, and
Decades.
it's a full bearded Father Paul, and I absolutely did not see that coming. Now, I did say earlier in this episode that you can see it with reviewing, because if you look closely, it's the same actor under heavy makeup. You can tell,
right?
Like especially in the early Jerusalem scenes. But I wasn't paying attention to that the first time watching. I just thought this was just an old man walking through the desert. But this reveal, I obviously did not see coming. And then there is Paul mentions something about he's bringing the angel or the beast or whatever with him.
Right.
Now we know what was in that fucking crate in part 1.
Yeah. This travel and wait kind of thing that he's done from Jerusalem all the way back to America. Mm-hmm. Moving a little bit and then waiting for this thing to find him. Mm-hmm. In the sense that maybe he's become almost this thing's kind of familiar.
Right.
And this was the one scene that I just thought was magnificent. Just with the halo. Just that,
oh, yeah,
small,
I can see
that small bit of light that he seems to see.
Because if you think about how many paintings of Jesus have we seen where you have that little bit of light just behind his head?
Yeah. And I remember the first time I saw that, I was like, this is just like nothing I'd ever seen before.
Yeah, 100% intentional from Flanagan.
Absolutely. I was just absolutely stunned by that. Mm-hmm. That right there, what we were just looking at, maybe one of my favorite shots in all of horror.
Yeah.
That right there.
It's true. It's truly scary and menacing looking.
It's menacing, but I just find it to be absolutely gorgeous. Mm-hmm. Probably in a dark way.
Yeah.
Obviously, but look that's just unbelievable. Unbelievable mm-hmm. what you can do when you actually give a shit. Mm-hmm. Wow. And we close out by finding that, Monsignor Pruitt, or Father Paul, is actually a de-aged Monsignor Pruitt. And, that's where things just kind of end.
Yeah, it ends on a newspaper clipping that was in the office, which it amazed me. Like, it was there the whole time.
Yeah.
There, right in front of their face the whole time. That's just, I don't know if this is like the newspaper clipping said the church finally got their funding or whatever, but look, that's him right there.
I think it was about repairs being done or something like that.
Yeah, but plain as day, he's right there. You could have noticed it if you were paying attention. If hey, we're in the office, I'm waiting, maybe, Father's in the bathroom or something. You're looking around the room. type of deal. You know what I mean? But how many people have looked at that and not even realized it?
Yeah. And that's basically how the episode ends. I mean, I love how these things just kind of end.
Yes.
You're just like, the last episode, Lisa, just ends. And now this, in the cave in Jerusalem, showing all this incredible shit. And then, Monsignor Pruitt is Father Paul and, vice versa. And then it just ends. And you're like, fuck.
Yep.
And I'll be honest with you. I mean, it's only going up in terms of quality from here.
I can't wait because, like I said in the last 2 episodes, everyone's saying this is a slow burn. I think these have been home run episodes, 1, 2, and 3 right in a row. Yeah, everything has been great.
If your mentality is for body count and gore,
I think that's what a lot of it is.
People. Yeah.
I think a lot of it, they're expecting balls to the wall, action.
Yeah.
This
slashing.
Is religion. If this is a religious, if this is a religious, TV show, to an aspect, we're thinking possessions. Like we always say, rotating heads and pea soup. You're not getting any of that. You're still getting this horror element, but you're getting, like you always say, give me a story. We're getting this great story, this great mystery, and these fantastic acting performances. But that's what I like, is because now you have no idea where the fuck we're going to go if, like me, first time watching. And what we've seen so far, it can go anywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm very much looking forward to coming back here next Thursday.
Yeah, me too, man.
And discussing this with episode 4.
Yep.
Is episode 4 coming up? Episode 4. So only 7. Only 7. And that's part of the magic of it. He had the dignity. He has the dignity to make these things that just end. And they end conclusively. If anything, I'm always envious or upset that Netflix doesn't do physical media release.
Yeah.
Like, I would love to get The Haunting of Hill House on Blu-ray. But in truth, what I should do is just sit my ass down and watch The Haunting of Hill House, right. One of these, long weekends or, whatever, when you've, got nothing to do. That would be fine. So, I mean, there we are. We've come to the end of episode 3, book 3, Pop Proverbs. I believe episode 4 is called Lamentations.
Okay.
So if that tips you off a little bit into what may be coming our way, now that some of the reveals, some of the truth, some of the underbelly is being shown, we can start to get it going.
Yeah.
So
I can't wait, dude.
Yeah, man, it's good stuff. I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying doing the series with Gore again. And I'm in the process of setting up another series with someone completely different for something that neither of us have seen, but it's supposed to be very strong. So I'm in the process of setting that up.
Okay, cool.
I'm looking forward to it. So
hopefully it ends up better than the Last of Us for you.
They started because I think the season just ended.
Yeah,
I think it just ended, and they said, "Hey, there's going to be more clickers in it next season." Well, couldn't you have fucking told us that this season?
Right,
stupid fucks. But that's not the way it works. If it's going to be shitty, they got to keep it a secret. But something. As always, I'm in the minority on that because people think it's like the greatest thing ever, and there's no accounting for taste as the expression goes. So
exactly, a lot of people are saying Scream 6 is a masterpiece too.
Yeah, well, there you go. All right. Wow, we went 30 minutes longer than the episode.
You know what? But we had a lot to say, and that shows how good a television show is. Sometimes we do 90 minutes on a fucking movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's just how good this show is. How much I have a lot to say, because, like I told you, you could tell the difference between these shows I'm doing with you and Pinocchio notwithstanding, because I absolutely love that movie. But just like other random episodes, like I let you have your piece, and then Gore or John or Bill will say something, and then I'll sneak in. But I'm so animated in these episodes because I just love this fucking TV show so far, and I just have so much to say, to bounce off of you, because it's just so fucking good.
This is 5-star programming right here.
Yeah.
And I can't wait. He's going to drop the, and we're going to cover that. So if you want to get in on that, when he does the fall of the House of Usher,
please.
That's sometime later this year.
Okay.
So yeah, we're going to be covering the fall of the House of Usher. There's a lot of good programming coming up, and I think you saw in the group, in the chat, and I was talking. Maybe, I don't know if I will. Maybe talking about Ahsoka. I don't know. We'll see. But there, yeah, I mean, this and Penny Dreadful and House of Usher and this other series I'm talking about getting into. These are shows that just aren't getting any coverage. So
right,
it's a pleasure to discuss them.
I'm having
all fun. Right. My thanks to Eric. And is there anything? Oh, plug something.
Shit. Follow me on Twitter, movies_beer365. I like to troll all the horror community people, that are beating that dead horse that Mike likes to say. But what I really want to do, I'll plug last night's episode of Pinocchio. And the reason why I'll plug last night's episode of Pinocchio is you've done over 160 shows, give or take.
162.
I've been a part of a lot of them.
Yes.
And this last night's episode, not just because I got you and John to watch the movie, but the fact that you guys really, really enjoyed it. And I think, honestly, it's one of the best conversations the three of us have had on this show. So I really want to plug last night's episode, talking Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. It was just
episode 162,
really
available
good
on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, anywhere you can get podcasts.
Yeah, really proud of how that episode came out, because there was a lot of discussion in that, and it's also, if you watch that episode, it can get you to watch the movie too.
Yeah,
because it's worth your time.
And I should mention, and I didn't at the beginning, Pinocchio and Midnight Mass are available on Netflix to stream at any time. It's Netflix original content. So it's just great stuff. Talking about Pinocchio, it's funny because we came from last week where we talked about Hellboy, which didn't generate as organic a discussion as Pinocchio did. We've seen the progression in Del Toro's work from Hellboy, which is a good movie.
Right.
It's a fun movie. It's got some comedy. It's got some darkness. It's got some weird shit. It's got some complicated shit. But now we're here in 2023 as opposed to 2004. And we're looking at Pinocchio. And this guy is just on a different level now.
Yep.
And now hearing that perhaps he's considering taking on an original Frankenstein interpretation.
Oh, really?
Oh, you didn't see that? I put that in the chat. In the chat.
I'll look it up.
Oh, Mia Goth. So we can finally get her doing something other than making that stupid pearl face that everybody keeps putting up on.
I told you, I watched X. I was pretty much bored to tears.
Stop.
Well, I did it because everyone's talking about
it. Not you. I'm just saying, just in general.
And it's A24. A lot of people are praising A24. And
you did see me. I said I should put that up on Instagram to troll Patrick. But A24 won all the Oscars. Like, what happened to IFC this year? I didn't. Did something happen to IFC?
You need to Photoshop the A24 logo and just a little Oscar right next to it. You know what I mean? Academy Award. But I'm not knocking Mia Goth per se. She was okay in X. I just thought the movie itself was just fucking boring. So I have no desire to see Pearl and her goofy face. I've seen enough clips to know that I'm not going to be interested. But I will give her the benefit of the doubt if she's in a Del Toro Frankenstein movie.
I'm very much looking forward to what she did in the Brandon Cronenberg movie that I missed.
Okay.
The one with Alexander Skarsgård. About the body horror flick. So I mean, she's in a Cronenberg. I forget what it's called.
Here's a plug for you. I am going to get to the Underworld series. There's 5 of those. I'm going to go halfway through the that franchise. After I get part 3 done, I'm going to do Possessor. I'm going to discuss Possessor for my channel.
Well, if you're going to do that, then let's do a live stream about Possessor.
Sure.
After you finish, let's do a dual channel.
Sure.
Kind of thing. Yeah, because I would love to sit down and watch Possessor.
Mm-hmm.
And talk about it, because absolutely no one's talking about Possessor.
You got it, dude.
Yeah, let's set it up. All right. For this channel, we're done for the week. We'll be back on Sunday, picking up episode 4 of Penny Dreadful with Gorephobe, and he's really enjoying that. He hasn't seen it before, so he's watching it right before he goes on the stream, like we're doing here.
Mm-hmm.
Wednesday, we'll do a late show with Rod. Unfortunately.
We love you, Rod.
Yeah, I know.
He's our whipping boy.
He's been my boy for 35 years now. I love him. But we'll be doing Neil Jordan's interview with the vampire. And Julia said she absolutely will not show up for that because it's not nearly gay enough. And that's what she said. I said, because I remembered that. And I'm like, you don't think that they're gay enough, do you? She's like, they're not nearly gay enough in that movie. And she goes, plus I don't like Tom Cruise and Brad
I know
Pitt.
she doesn't. I know she doesn't like Tom Cruise.
Yeah, and I'm just like, well, I mean, like, it's not a gay porno. I'm like, what the fuck do you want him to do? I mean, what exactly were your expectations? But apparently, in that new series, the AMC series, they're getting it on, and they're like, and that isn't in the Rice novel, if I remember correctly. I haven't read it in 30 years.
I'm gonna show him. I'll show him off during the late stream because I'm gonna be a part of that one. But I got a really good deal on eBay. eBay is a great way to find old books.
Yeah.
For a good deal, I got the entire Vampire Chronicles collection.
Oh, very nice.
And I've never read any of them.
Okay, because I did a wiki on interview, and I remember her saying that, like she said it a couple of months ago, we were talking about it. Somehow it came up in conversation. And I'm like, they didn't get it on in the book. I'm like, it was just like the movie, that they were very, aesthetically, inclined towards it, or Lestat was, he wanted beautiful things.
Yeah.
But I'm like, they weren't, fucking each other, and I'm just like, but apparently it's not gay enough for
I love Julia. She's good.
I love her to death too. And that's what she said about Pinocchio. She has an allergic reaction to anything that's heartwarming and
puppets.
Puppets, yeah. Puppets freak her out. So yeah, that probably wouldn't have gone well. All right, so we'll be back with interview with the vampire on Wednesday, and then Thursday. Here we are again, Lamentations, book 4 of Mike Flanagan's Midnight Mass. My thanks to Eric. We've gone on an hour and 40 minutes now. Holy shit. I didn't see that coming at all. Thank you again, friend. And I'll see you in the next stream. Take care, everybody. All the best.
Cheers.